Well, we're finally getting down to building a subframe for these bucket seats, which came out of a late 90s, 2000 something or other pickup truck, but they're comfortable. And they're going on to an 85 GM truck floor. And the seats don't match the floor at all. So look at the size of the holes that the factory drilled in them brackets. The one on the right, gargantuous. That's a 3/8 bolt on the left. But I think I'm going to use 7/16 bolts to hold it in. The feet on the bottom, there's two pedestals, and they're both drilled a little smaller than the front just a single pedestal. But even the factory took attaching seats to the floor seriously. And you could probably get by with a rollover with them attached to the floor, just the factory style, but this is going to be a lot better. So we're going to build a little subframe for it, and then we're going to bolt it onto the subframe that we put on the frame of the truck, and that should give us well, put it this way, this seat's never going to come out of its mooring, that is for sure. But I'm glad I got the trailer buttoned up, so to speak, until the spare tire stuff gets here. Let's start on something new, a fresh breath of air. I use my Makita grinder here, and this piece right here, it's the guide that, the cover that goes around to stop the sparks from tearing you up, or tearing your arm up, or tearing something else up. And it moves, it's made to move. But the way they had it moving, it wasn't enough. I took my grinder out and I adjusted it, and I got the movement to 313 degrees. And the way they had it stock, that was about 100 degrees less than that. And the reason why I need it is to use this surface right here, from here to here, as a guide for my cut. Now I need to lay that against my angle iron here. I use it as a guide, front and back, to make my cut. And that's why I need it. Because the way it was, you can't get it to where you want it and be able to use the cover as a guide along the angle iron, which is basically where you want the wheel to cut. So if I require it, I'm sure there's a lot of Makita customers out there that require it, or have run into this problem. But yeah, maybe someone knows a Makita engineer, or can drop a line, or who knows, one day we might get 330 degrees at least, maybe 360 degrees of rotation on there, so you can use it as a guide to make your cut. Because freehand cuts, they're not always precise. This would at least be precise. Now the grinder that I like to use is this Makita. It's got a long nose here. Comes in handy when you're porting things. And on the end here, it's just a carbide ball. Comes in handy for all kinds of stuff. The thing is, when you're using one of these, carbide or not, whatever you're using, you don't stop. You always keep it moving. And we'll give you a close-up of this carbide ball here in just a little while. But yeah, I like them. They're great. It's got Makita quality. This particular one spins to 14,000 RPM. And I bought from, I believe it was Trick Tools, a foot pedal that you plug into the socket, and you plug this grinder into it, and then you depress, use a little dial button. And yeah, I might have got it from Goodson. I think I did get it from Goodson. Anyway, you dial in wherever you want it, because you can't go racing in there sometimes. You're doing a set of aluminum heads. You don't want that thing buzzing at 14,000 right off the bat. So you might only want 5, 6, whatever. So it's an adjustable delay, a regulator, and you can get the desired RPM you want for whatever task you're doing. Here's a close-up look on that carbide ball. I use it so often that I leave it permanently in the chuck there. I actually have 2 of these grinders, and the other one I have the cartridge roll on the mandrel, and that stays in that one permanently. But it's just all kinds of things, just really universal. You got something to grind. Usually when you have something to grind, it's just in the way. There's just a little bit of material that's in your way. This takes care of it. But whether it's a little bit or a lot, this grinder can handle it. And that carbide bit is tough. And earlier I misspoke. I said that this Makita grinder went 14,000. It's more like 24,000. And the new ones are 25,000. So, yeah, they come in handy. It's Makita quality. You can't beat it. Wow, that was sweet. That cutting time, I don't think it was 30 seconds. Cut all right down here. It's 3/16 material, 4 inches long. I actually, after I cut it, I went, wow. I went and checked the cutting wheel and the cutter in the grinder, and it's a Diablo wheel, cutting wheel. Went through there like a hot knife through butter. But that guide on, or for some kind of guide system to be on the 4.5 inch grinder, yeah, I think that needs to come to be. It needs to come to pass, because you can make pretty darn straight cuts. That's pretty straight right there. Really, I was surprised. Well, I made one. Now I can make all the rest of them I need. How this whole thing came about, I ran out of oxyacetylene, went down to get some. They didn't have the oxygen bottle that I have. They didn't have it. They had the acetylene, but they didn't have the oxygen. So they sent me up to their parent plant. And that was a waste of time. So I left town, came back to the farm. But now that I've done this is a far better cut than oxyacetylene could give me, which I'm going to have to grind all the slag off of it. It's just extra work, extra time. So, yeah, I think I'll go for this. This is good. This is an automatic center punch. Starrett makes it. They're great. Line your holes out, then you want the center of the lines. it mars the metal. Just spring-loaded attachment inside that lets go and punches the metal. And it makes a little divot, and that's where you put your drill bit for center to center holes. Now you can't tell me China can't afford a center punch. Why don't they just buy one? They don't even have to buy one that's made in America, like Starrett. Just buy one that's made in China. Okay, we got our first piece cut and installed using grade 8 hardware, washers, nuts, block washers, and the bolts, all grade 8. That's a minimum. And if you want to be more accurate with that center punch, just slide it down the line until you feel it hit the other line. It's a little more accurate. I did it the other way, and it's about 10 to 12 thousandths out. But it's a far cry from 125 thousandths out, like something you get from over there. You know what I'm talking about. That country that begins with C and ends with A, but we're not talking about Canada. Yeah. Okay, well, if we can do it over here, I'm sure they can do it over there, but for whatever reason. Okay. That's the first piece. Do more of the same. We'll be done.